Artificial intelligence is neither artificial nor intelligent. It's not artificial because it's working off of everything we've all written previously. And it's not intelligent, it's just doing a math solution to a language problem. There's no human connection, there's no narrative. I use it as a dumb robot. Wealthy and very wealthy people, they don't want to ask a robot something, especially the people who are 10, 20 years older than me. That's not going to get 75 to 100 bips and support the sort of financial planning and deep research and handholding that wealthy and ultra wealthy and even upper middle class people want.
I'm here with my good friend, Barry Ritholtz. And Barry, you may know, he writes books. He runs a firm called Ritholtz Wealth Management. He's on Masters in Business on Bloomberg. But you're not like an AI guy to start with. Tell us about your journey with AI. When did you first fire up a chatbot and decide it was worthless?
So everything you just said was wrong.
Welcome.
And I know that because I checked with AI and it told me none of that was true. Let me just step back and give you a 10,000-foot view, because you're not totally wrong, but you're not totally right. So my whole career has always been, hey, this technology thing is kind of cool. What's this? And back in the day when my morning notes said I would, like you, I have to kind of organize my day, otherwise I'm all over the place. That list that I started putting together first started getting Xeroxed around the office, then faxed to other offices, not like any organized thing, just, oh, this looks useful. And so finally, I'm like, this HTML thing doesn't look that complicated. Let me see if I can set up a website. So I taught myself HTML.
2000 nothing?
1998.
Yeah, okay.
So that was like, oh, this technology thing is going to be big one day. Let's keep playing with it. And then, started playing with the idea of podcasts. Early on, it was really funny when Bloomberg was recruiting me, after the financial crisis. Hey, do you like a TV show? No, financial television is an awful idea. What I want to do is sit down and have adult conversations with people, long form, and here's the technology for it, and here's how it looks. And the answer was, and they're called podcasts. And the answer was, what's a podcast? So when AI first came along, all right, we played with ChatGPT a little bit, but the moment was that for me was like, oh, I'm going to start using this a lot, was Perplexity. So I don't think Cory Doctorow's thesis of enshittification, all platforms eventually go to zero, right? If you used eBay or Amazon or Google, for the most part, a lot of the original things that made it great, Mike and Ben both implied, Mike Green and Ben Hunt, not Michael Batnick and Ben Carlson, implied, hey, it was VC subsidized. I think eventually the next generation of management comes along and just extracts how much juice can we squeeze from these clients, and then the platform goes to shit. So Google had become garbage. Google search had become garbage a couple of years ago. Gmail has always been shit, but now it's got AI layer on top of shit. So
now it's a sandwich.
It's right. It's exactly. But Perplexity was great because I started asking it more and more questions. And you and I have been talking about this for a couple of years, and you kind of figure out, oh, I could ask it deeper questions, more questions. So how do I use this? And then Claude last year was a game changer. I think it was November when whatever that wasn't 4.6, whatever the one before that was like, oh, this is now serious. So every part of my business, every part of anything I do, there's a thin AI layer whose sole purpose is to make me more efficient, more competent, and just leave that many fewer stones unturned. And everything you mentioned, I could give you examples across the board there.
Well, let's talk about where you draw the lines, because we've had some interesting conversations in the past about using AI as a research assistant, as a writer, as a marketing person who does images for you. Where do you draw the line, and where do you think other people should draw the line if you want to be that didactic about it?
So about 20 years ago, I got my first executive assistant, a human, and it was, oh, I don't have to do all this stuff that really anybody can do. I can focus on the things that only Barry can do. Or Barry and some other people can do this, but Barry does it better. So I started focusing on all that. What the line for me is, what is boring, repetitive, tedious, or just that I'm not good at, that I can have AI do for me. The line I draw is, so I'm seeing a lot of people suddenly have become super productive in terms of writing. And the writing is like, I want Grammarly to spell check and grammar check, but please stop taking me out of my writing. Your Grammarly writing is same tedious bullshit. And when you get that as a consumer of content, it's like, I know how this guy wrote this. He asked Claude, write me 1,000 words on what's going on with oil in the market. And it's clearly, now I don't know if Claude will eventually get better at that, where it becomes indistinguishable. But I think for the next 1, 3, 5 years, if you're using Claude to do your writing, all right, so maybe my AI chatbot is going to read your AI writing, but no humans are involved in this. Why bother?
Well, but let's flip that a little bit, because you're using things like Perplexity. I know now you're using like Claude Cowork and things like that. You're clearly having AI read things for you, but how do you navigate? Because we both know that it's not the same thing to read a book as it is to read a summary of a book.
Right.
You get different things, you lose all the opportunity for those random happenstance connections. So how do you guard against that? Because yeah, maybe you can do your reads 10 times faster now, but you kind of still got to read everything, don't you?
What I use, perfect example. So I've been using an app called Instapaper for forever. And anytime I'm reading something that I really like, I click read later because it'll save it to an Instapaper page. Instapaper, once a day, if you want, will send you a CSV version of that. And I, 15 years ago, used to manually do the HTML. Now I have an assistant helping me do that. And today, I just take the CSV, upload it to Claude and say, format this, make the headline bold, make the description from the first, usually there's a subhead, or if there's an AI summary, so my chatbot is taking someone else's chatbot AI summary and turning it into a paragraph, put the source in parentheses, put a bullet. I don't want it indented. I just, like, you keep telling it what to do and eventually it gets there. What used to be a human working for 45 minutes every night is now Claude doing it in 4 minutes.
But does it change what you're reading?
No, I use it as a dumb robot. And artificial, I know this is a cliche, artificial intelligence is neither artificial nor intelligent. It's not artificial because it's working off of everything we've all written previously. I wonder how often are they going to update these LLMs now that all the big content sources are very much, asserting their copyright. So it's almost, so everything is starting to get a little dated is an issue. And it's not intelligent. It's just doing the math. LLMs are, what are the odds that the next word is going to be this? And it's just giving you a math solution to a language problem. There's no human connection. There's no narrative. The curated reads that I've been doing for, 30 years, for AI to do that is pointless. You need a human with a point of view, even if you disagree with that person. So I'll tell you the other thing so it does all the boring mechanical stuff. That's great. I am a big believer in spending money, but only if you're getting your money's worth. Like running a firm as a corporate denizen, just give that lawyer $80,000 and get an opinion on this. Like, I don't see value in that unless it's something that's really important. So an advisor we're interviewing, we're having a conversation with him, and he's got a pretty egregious employment contract. He never sold his business to the company. He was working with somebody. That company got sold. His boss got paid. The book he brought over should be his, but in all the automatic paperwork, he signed stuff really he shouldn't. And you're just continuing your job. You don't think I need a lawyer. So New Jersey client, New Jersey advisor, New Jersey company. The law of Florida is governing in the contract. Oh, and by the way, if you leave, there's like a 10x on your trailing 12. Like everything is completely inappropriate. So I could have asked our outside counsel, prepare me a memo on this. And I know it'll cost 10 or 20 grand, but let's get a lay of the land. And it certainly doesn't hurt that I'm a lawyer, so I know how to read. So I just say to Claude, here's the situation. I think it's egregious that everybody's locus is New Jersey, and then you have to apply Florida law. Prepare a memo arguing against this. Show me real case law, not hallucinations. And what I got back 5 minutes later was, I don't know, $30,000 worth of legal research that I could now go to our attorneys and say, hey, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, here's a memo. Is this worth pursuing to pull $250 million out of that firm, even though they think they have?
Let's back up a second here, though. You're talking about a use case.
Yeah.
Where you're a lawyer. Like, let's be really clear about
Right.
Most people probably don't know. You're a lawyer.
Yeah.
So, like,
recovering.
You are the exact person who would capture it going way off the rails.
Maybe.
Right.
I mean, I haven't practiced law in 30 years, so maybe not.
But you understand the forms.
But
right?
I have a tax guy, and the bills, both bills, are two bills. I could say, hey, what about this tax situation that we've been discussing internally? You guys ask Claude, prompt Claude for this, and see if it gives you something worthwhile. Look, the book I wrote that came out last year talks about being more aware of your media consumption, being aware that you're reading people who are competent and are experienced and have lived through a few cycles and have a good temperament and don't run around with a hair on fire every time the market's down 5%. I am hoping that the rise of AI forces us all to be a little more self-aware about our own skill sets, our own competency, and everybody else's. You shouldn't be, well, I don't know anything about taxes, but let me ask Claude. All right, well, enjoy 3 years in Joliet, because that's where you're going to end up.
I want to back up a second, though, because yeah, I agree with all of what you're saying, right? If you've got the right expertise and the right model, there's an incredible superpower that's been invented, saving us tons of money and time.
Right.
Now let's talk about you working on your book projects.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
The last book project you did, and I get to know this because he sends me crap all the time. Last book project you did very much the old school way. You had all the notes up on the board with all the Post-it notes moving around. Hand edited every word out of all that thing, ground through it, a year roughly of just hard work, which I would never do. And I give you credit for doing it. Now you're working on a new book. You're using AI a little bit in this process. Tell us how it's changing your book writing process.
So before we get to the new book, the paperback of How Not to Invest comes out in May. And the most frustrating thing about reading the audio version of it, you've already gone to print. And as you're reading it out loud, it's why is the word the at the end of this line, at the beginning of that, the, like you start seeing these things. So Google Notebook, upload the PDF of the paperback, find me all the typos. I get a list of 100 typos. Find me all the grammatic errors. I get a list of 25 grammatic errors. Find me all the proper names that are misspelled. I get a list of about 20 of them, half of which they got right, half of which they got wrong, because they go to Wikipedia, which is edited by, talk about random nonsense. For broad things, it's a good research. By the way, Notebook LLM is a Google product, and it's free. It's insane this is free. I can't imagine this is free.
It's being paid for by venture capital somewhere.
No, I think it's being paid by Gemini, something.
Google shareholders.
Yeah, but it was incredible how useful that was. The new book, it's Masters in Business. How do I take this almost 700 guests I've had, figure out a variation of people in different areas? I've looked at a couple of other books like this, and I always come away like it's a little tedious. So there needs to be a sort of coherent thread that's interesting throughout it. So the first thing I did with Claude is, here's all the Masters in Business and all the transcripts. They're on Ritholtz.com, they're on iTunes, they're on Spotify, they're on Bloomberg. Put together a spreadsheet of every interview, the date, the person's firm, and that took about an hour for it to go through. And then it's like, okay, now expand this. I want a paragraph on why each of these people are significant, what their background is, what are they most known for. And so it's going through my transcripts and pulling out stuff that I asked. In fact, let me just digress. The last step I do when I'm prepping for a podcast, I have a human who's not allowed to use AI give me a first draft of topics, questions. I then massage that into shape for the interview. And I used to then ask Perplexity, hey, give me 20 questions to ask Dave Nadig about his career. And what it was doing was giving me my own questions back. So now I say, prepare me 20 Tom Keene-like questions to ask Dave Nadig. And I get completely different questions than I would have asked. So you have to be a little clever and outsmart it because it knows you. So now that it has the whole run of the spreadsheet, 600 and something people, their firm, their history, their this, their that, now I could start figuring out off of this giant database that it created, all right, how many women are on this? How many bond managers are on this? How many venture capitalists? Like, what are the various categories? What are the consistent through lines? And so what would have taken hours and hours of manually doing this, it's like, it just generates sublists and sublists. So that process of making, like 5 years ago, I would have paid a research assistant 30 grand to do this over the course of 12 months. And now it's, what is Claude Pro, 200 a month?
200 a month, yeah.
I mean, that just seems like we're used to everything either being free or $5 for an app. And the first moment you think of 200 a month, it's like, gee, that sounds like a lot. When I did the legal memo, it's like, all right, I'm now 12 years worth of monthly fees are now covered with this one thing. Like it was that solid.
Right. All right. Before I let you leave, I want to ask you a couple questions about the business of being a financial advisor.
Sure.
I mean, we've been talking about publishing largely. You guys run a big, successful advisory firm. There's a lot of discussion about whether or not advisors are going away because AI advisors are going to do everything, or completely the opposite, that the human part of advice is what's going to actually blossom and people are going to have so little trust in finance. There's going to be a boom market in financial advisors. What's your take?
My experience, I grew up fairly middle class, lower middle class. And over the past 20 plus years, I've gotten to know wealthy and very wealthy people. They don't want to ask a robot something, especially the people who are 10, 20 years older than me. I can't talk about the 30-something, Silicon Valley bajillionaire, but the 60, 70-year-old people, they want someone they can pick up the phone. Hey, what the hell's, I got a text this morning. What is going on with oil over 100? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's a war in the Middle East. Do you really need me to answer that question?
But they do. Like, clearly, actually,
Right.
They need the human being that they trust to have gone
That's
and read the
exactly-
paper for them.
So I have a pet theory that everything in life is confirmation bias. And they just want me to say, because I know who the person is, oh, it's Trump's fault. Don't worry. Because, and I don't know if an AI is going to say that to that person, but I know them and I know their politics. And it's like, yeah, Trump, what are you going to do? And I got a thumbs up, and I don't know if an AI bot is going to do that with that sort of person.
But that's also not your whole practice. You also have practices for, you have your own sort of robo platform. You've got lots of entry points.
So
where does it layer in there?
So to me, it's all about productivity and efficiency. And we've always been about doing more with less. From the day we launched, we weren't venture backed. We weren't but we bootstrapped this ourselves. We're one of the largest independent RIAs. There's no private equity. There's no outside money. It's just us. So how do we get the biggest bang for our buck? How do we make everybody in the firm more efficient, more productive? So that's step one. This is going to be 3 or 4 steps. Then it's how do we provide additional services at no additional cost to clients? And so that'll be phase 2. And we're just starting looking at things like, how do I do due diligence on this alternative that this client brought to me without spending hours and tens of thousands of dollars? So there's a first run with that. So I think the next 12, 24, 36 months is everybody getting comfortable with having a digital executive assistant. Like, I want AI to look at my calendar and schedule stuff, but compliance is making us go through these hoops. So I'm waiting for Claude and Google to play well together. The other thing, there's an arms race for fraud, right? So I was on Paul Krugman's podcast the other day, and he shockingly admitted to me he doesn't use other AI, and he literally has a staff person sending takedown notices to fake Paul Krugman's on YouTube. They're all AI generated. Like, Paul, if ever there was a use for AI, it's an arms race for takedown notices for fake use. And just start doing this and have it. You can have it search for your name every day, and anything that's not authorized, they generate a takedown notice. And it's and instead of doing this with a person 24/7, and you'll still won't keep it up. All right, you're gonna do a AI fake Paul. I'll do an AI takedown notice, and eventually they'll get tired of it, and Google will recognize, oh, all these fake Pauls, we have to stop doing it.
It's going to be AI fighting AI all the way down.
But this is, think about what happened. You're old enough to remember the initial .coms, the build out of that, the rollout of broadband, Amazon Web Services, like over from like 95 to 05, you had this massive series of steps. The thing that makes AI so fascinating is this shit ain't happening in 10 years. When I say 36 months, 36 months from now, it's like, boy, he was way off. It was 36 days. I mean, it seems, 4.6 just dropped, and suddenly it's like requests that I'm giving it that were taking 8 minutes is now taking 30 seconds.
And stuff that was impossible is now possible. Yeah.
It's not just possible, it's possible. Now, I got that legal memo, and I went through all the citations, and they turned out to all be real, which there are attorneys that are relying on AI getting in trouble because whatever they're using if you're using the $20 ChatGPT, they make up cases. Right. For $200, we'll use actual cases. That's the upgrade. But the idea that we're all going to be more productive, we're all going to be more efficient, and we all get to focus on what we really want to focus on and not be grinding out the stuff that we don't like, we're not particularly great at, the necessary evils. If you can offload all that crap to other people, to technology, not to burdening your staff with it, you're freeing up other people to do what they do best. I just don't see, I guess theoretically you can simultaneously be a bubble and everybody's going to be put out of work. I don't see the Malthusians or the Luddites as ever being right historically. And this is the one that's going to do it. I don't know. Are you going to pay a premium to deal with a chatbot? I just don't see that as a thing. If you were going to do that, then the robo-advisors should all be running trillions of dollars. And clearly, hey, I don't need to hire an advisor. I just need a basic portfolio and an auto deduction from my checking account, and I'll set and forget that. And that's worth 20 bips. That's not going to get 75 to 100 bips and support the sort of financial planning and deep research and handholding that wealthy and ultra wealthy and even upper middle class people want.
All right, one last question before we go. You were a little late on some of the AI, like, oh, look, it can do this, right? Because you were just kind of not on the bandwagon and making dumb videos with cats and things like that.
I hate all that stuff.
What's the most surprising and fun thing that you found with AI? Like the thing is like, oh my God, that was awesome.
To me, the work product I know this is a really boring answer. The work product that it generates where I could say, this thing just gave me 4 hours a week back that I was pissing away doing nonsense. I mean, listen, I don't know how much money is in the world, but I know everybody in the planet gets 24 hours a day, full stop. And if you're going to give me 45 minutes to an hour a day back, that is the greatest. Oh my God, that is just so amazing to me Like I just wish I can find more things to offload to it. Because listen, we've all, like, at a certain point, the memes are amusing. All of the various videos are cute. You know, it's the dogs dancing. They're adorable. I get it. But we're not going to remember that a year from now. What I'm going to remember is, God, I got my schedule under control in a way that I haven't had happen. You know, when you're building a firm, you're busy. You got a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of demands on your time. And the more efficient and the more productive you are, the more, like, listen, this is a cliche. Are you going to build your firm and ignore your family life? Or are you going to, you know, kind of do 40 hours a week at the firm and have a happy family life? Maybe you could do both if all the bullshit you've been working on is handled by technology, including AI.
I love it. That's like the most positive outcome I've thought. We all get to spend more time with our family.
I'm a techno optimist. It's always made my life better. I mean, listen, lead poisoning and microplastics in your testicles are a bad thing, but, you know, you got to take the good with the bad.
I have nothing I can do to follow up that.
That's it.
Thanks,
Thank
Barry.
you so much.